Go.
Hey, welcome to Real Estate Nightmares with Miguel and Carlos, powered by PTI. Usually with this series, we go through kind of the destruction that is created after a tenant leaves, or we look at, the cost of, getting all of that done. Today, I really wanted to take a little bit of a different perspective on this and have a kind of an emotional impact, right? All of us are human beings. All of us have feelings. And when you're dealing with an eviction or when you were dealing with a tenant who was uncooperative, there's a lot that goes through your mind, right? Not only is there a sense of unfairness, a sense of indignation, but there's also that worry and that fear that, like, okay, now my investment is in jeopardy, right? Because at the end of the day, once that tenant is in the apartment or in the house, you have far more to lose than they do as a tenant. So we're going to talk about that a little bit today. We've got some clips pulled up. We'll warn you guys ahead of time. There is going to be a little bit of coarse language, so be prepared for that. But I specifically chose clips where the tenants' faces were blurred, just to protect identities, and I really want to make sure that we're approaching this from a human perspective, both as investors and landlords going in and fixing up these houses and creating opportunities for people, but also as human beings watching other human beings in what could be like the lowest time of their life. So let's have a little bit of empathy, a little bit. But it's also remember that all of these situations are preventable. And let's just jump right in. Anything you want to add, Carlos?
I'm just excited to what horrors or something I can learn today. So
All right,
I
sounds
have
good.
no idea what's going to happen. So
All right. So I've seen all these clips already. Carlos is not. So prepare for a, textured reaction here. So first one, this is a gentleman being served an eviction notice. So this person probably hasn't paid their rent in a long time or they violated the lease in multiple ways. But I just want you guys to take a note of the attitude that this person has when this notice is coming in. And this is a server. I think it's in New York State. They're literally just there to serve a piece of paper and let them know that they're being evicted.
Are you threatening me? For
Yeah.
what?
I'm telling you to leave my fucking house.
I'm not in your house.
Get the fuck out of my property now.
I've
oh
just
my
served you
goodness,
your notice, okay?
This is your fucking orders, all right?
Have a wonderful
Come
day,
here
okay?
again.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
We'll see what's gonna happen.
my
So
God.
But quick, 20 seconds. And this is actually the first step of the illegal eviction process in most states. And
Hmm.
either you or, a court officer serves the tenant, gives them a notice and says, hey, we have a court date settled down. Like you got to show up at court, right? And I will admit 9 times out of 10, the tenants just don't show up, right? However, if you are doing this yourself, if you are self-managing, it will fall on you to do this yourself and literally hand this piece of paper over to this tenant and be prepared to deal with this kind of attitude.
Mm.
Now, this interaction took 20 seconds, right? But I want you to understand what would go through your mind if you are dealing with an eviction process. You've already spent, let's say, $120,000 to buy this house, another $30,000 to renovate it, get it ready. You're already in the hole by a pretty significant amount of money. And then you move someone in, and let's say you didn't vet them properly. In most states, it's going to take you at least 2 months to get to this point, right?
Mm.
Just to get to the point where you're actually serving them with an eviction. So that's already 2 months in unpaid rent. Now, meanwhile, that tenant could be doing anything to that property, right? So all of this is going through your mind. So you may watch this clip and think, oh, he's just a guy, it's being a jerk. It's only 20 seconds, not the end of the world. But you are thinking about this all of the time, right? And if you are, a professional working a career, this is following you into that office. This is
Mm.
following you into your work environment or any other
Mm.
businesses that you might
Mm.
have.
Mm.
So you have to be cognizant of the mental burden that you are carrying while dealing with a situation like this, which is great. I mean, you can outsource it and that's fantastic, but either way, you're still going to be thinking about it.
Hmm. Wow. Wow.
Yeah,
Wow. Very
absolutely.
well said. I mean, that's something I didn't think about. Sometimes this stuff can drag into other places, right? Like your job, or it can just, this is a part of, I guess, being wealthy that people don't talk about as much as they
Yes.
should. So,
Yeah. It really is a financial load that somebody needs to carry. And ultimately, if it is your business, you're the one that should be carrying it. So this is again, prevention is worth an ounce of cure or a pound of cure, right? We want to make sure that we prevent these situations from happening, and so you can keep your investment safe. Let's
okay.
move on to our next slide.
Well, hold on. Before you move
Yeah,
on, how can we prevent this from happening? Because we know that they're going through a hard time, but like, how do we stop, I
great
guess,
question. Great question. So communication, first of all, and solid tenant screening. Now, one of the things that I always talk about is you can have the best tenant in the world, and if they unfortunately have a mental health crisis or they get addicted to drugs, they lose their job, they get the wrong influences in their life, you're going to have those one-off situations where everything looked good on paper, and yet, we end up with an eviction, or we end up with, crazy tenant situation, or, massive destruction to the apartment. That's going to happen. But those cases are few and far between. So it's important to be prepared for them and look at it really as a cost of doing business, right? But it's also important to protect yourself from them, because you can mitigate those cases. You can also mitigate the consequences of those cases by having consistent communication with that tenant. As things are kind of spiraling out of control. You want to make sure that, hey, I'm on your side. I want to make sure that we don't get into an eviction here. What can I do to help you transition from this apartment to somewhere else? Make sure that you're comfortable while still protecting myself legally, right? And we can show you, we can talk about that at length in PTI, kind of show you all the steps to protect yourself in those situations. But at the end of the day, again, it is your responsibility as a landlord, because you are the professional here.
Wow. Okay.
Yep.
I mean, that answered my question. So could you share your screen again? And
Absolutely.
awesome. This is not what I'm used to. I'm used to the junk.
I know, right?
This is more
Well,
educating.
I think it's important to recognize this, because we all see the junk. The junk is very flashy, right? The destroyed apartment, the $30,000 in renovation costs, the police showing up and breaking down the door, all of that we see all the time. We don't ever actually get this human to human interaction. And at the end of the day, you have to remember, it is someone's home. It's a very personal situation for them, even though it needs to be business for you. All right, so let's jump into the second clip. And I just want you guys to take a note of the attitude. This is somebody serving, I think, that first notice to pay or vacate, or notice to pay or quit, depending on what state you're in. So just take a look at the way that this person is interacting with the staff.
Sorry about that. I apologize.
That's okay. I just got to find out when it's.
So again, crumpled paper.
So I'm not worried about that. I just got to find
Yes,
out
ma'am.
why you all didn't get it, but my car stopped, so the car is not here for me to get the rent receipt. the money on the receipt
Yes,
to
ma'am.
tell you the day I mailed it. But
Yes, ma'am.
I'll text you and let you know.
Yes, ma'am. Sorry about that. I apologize.
All right, no problem. Okay.
Sorry about that.
All right, so I think
Yeah.
whoever is serving this notice is a little too polite. They should be a little bit more direct and professional. But take notice of everything that she said, right? Her car is not working. She has to find the receipt. Like all of these excuses for the fact that the rent did not get paid, right? What she is trying to do is justify her behavior, or justify saving face in this situation and excusing what she's done. And ultimately, for you as the landlord and for anyone as the business owner, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The point is the rent was supposed to be paid and it's not. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here, right? So keep in mind, people are always going to consider themselves the good guy, right? And so the only way that you can actually get through to somebody is by making them understand, like, hey, you're not the bad guy here. We just have something that we need to resolve together, right? Like, I'm not your enemy. I'm trying to help you. And as soon as that trust is established, then you can actually start working backwards and pulling somebody away from that eviction and getting them to leave the unit in decent condition, and getting them to, maybe catch up on some of the partial payment that they owe on rent in exchange for a good review or a good reference on the line. But as soon as they frame you as the enemy and they think, oh, this person's just out to get me, everything goes out the window, right? And those are the evictions that are the most expensive, that take the longest, and they're the most frustrating to deal with. So this right here, this situation is right at the beginning of that, right? She's already justifying her behavior. She's already giving herself excuses for the way that she's going to behave. And then pretty soon, the next step is she's going to start creating reasons to dislike the landlord. She's going to start creating reasons for her to put you in the position of, oh, that person's the enemy, that person's out to get me. So there's something super important to be aware of.
Lord have mercy, man. This is crazy. God,
It happens every day.
this is a lot of stress. I've evicted a couple people, and
Mhm.
it's just a lot of stress. I try to normally just pay them to leave. That's what I normally do to
Yeah.
just kind of keep the peace, because I don't. It's just
Mhm.
unnecessary stress you have, and the next thing you know, you're, like you said, you're bringing it home.
Yeah.
It's everywhere. It's not even just
No.
that. It's in your household. It's in your relationships. It's like, don't talk to me right now. Your kids and stuff. And
Yep.
it's like.
For me, what I always tell folks is, listen, you're 3 months behind on your rent. We've gotten to the point where we are filing an eviction. We do have a court date. It's going to cost me $700 to file this eviction.
Mhm.
Either that, or I can give it to you. You know, I'd be happy to give it to you as far as moving costs. I don't want to destroy your credit. I don't want to destroy your reputation. I don't want to put you in a position where you can't find another apartment going forward. Like, let me help you here. This is the last thing that I can do for you, you know? And unfortunately, people don't usually get behind that. Usually, if there's a problem, and they're that far behind, you do end up going into court, right? But it is important to be able to have that conversation with them, because at the end of the day, you care about your money, you care about your accounting, you care about your bottom line, right? And if your cost of eviction plus the vacancy plus the potential for destruction, and repair is going to be more than you just handing this tenant $1,000, $700, you know, cash for keys and having them move on with their life, maybe it makes sense to do it. You know, it feels gross. I recognize that, but you know, sometimes it makes sense just from an accounting perspective.
Yes. I'm excited to see clip 3. I know this has been like a negative. I guess the real estate nightmares is just a whole negative thing, but it's like you have to know these things or else you're gonna get caught off guard and be like, man, I don't even want to invest.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the thing is, there is this misconception when it comes to long-term buy and hold rentals that, okay, well, you know, once the tenant is in there, they're going to pay me more than the mortgages and I'm going to be able to pocket some money. And it's like, this is just one of the facets when it comes to what it actually takes to manage one of these properties. And I'm not saying that you can't make money, but that there's so much that the average person doesn't know. There's so much that when it comes to repairs, to taxes, to, you know, just general maintenance. You know, have tenants casually destroying things, like violations that are the tenant's fault and getting that charged back to them. There's a whole lot that goes into it. And if you don't have a system or you don't have a process, you're going to learn the hard way. Either that or you're going to fail. So what we offer here at PTI, what I've been doing over the course of the last few years, is really setting people up for success when it comes to investing in this, because otherwise you end up in situations like these.
Wow. Okay. Well, let's go to clip 3. How many clips are there?
I've got 5 total.
Okay. So
each one is less than a minute.
Okay. You guys share your screen.
Yep, I got it.
This is crazy stuff, right, guys? All right, good Lord.
Yeah, it gets wild.
Yeah, good job
here's
on
another
one.
one.
People.
Hello.
Here on behalf of the law firm, this house was illegally obtained and we were going to schedule an eviction. So they wanted to possibly talk to you to maybe see if they could work something out.
Why would they do that if I got a lease on this house?
Okay, this house was illegally obtained. It was obviously there was squatters came in and they broke into the property, changed the locks, and then they probably either put it on Zillow or Craigslist, and so then they rented it.
No.
And so my job is to make sure that you know about that. And that
happens all the time.
I'm not signing that because I'm not moving out if I got a lease. Put me out either if I got a lease, so y'all got to take me to court.
This copy is for your record. This is a letter that just states what's going on, and then this is also a copy of the judicial sale deed, as well as the copies of the order from the circuit court. Okay, and then it just tells you that they will be scheduling an eviction if they can't come to a mutual agreement. Okay, and then this copy is for your record. Do you have any questions for me, or
that's basically you serving me with some papers?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm not taking that. You got to.
Hi, how are you?
Hello.
Here on behalf of the law firm.
So I'm not taking that. I wouldn't either.
Yeah, it cut off at the end, but basically she's sort of arguing with the server. And she's like, I'm not gonna take it. And he's like, I don't have to hand it to you. I just have to leave it here. And she's like, I'm not taking it. I haven't been served. And he's like, you've been served. And she's like, no, I haven't. So, it kind of breaks down. But yeah, let me stop sharing. Yeah, so this is another. I included this clip because the situation happens more often than you would think, right? Let's say you buy a house at a auction or a sheriff sale or from a wholesaler, right? And you've never been crazy good deal. Let's say you got a 50% discount, right? You've never been inside the house. Usually this is how these things happen. You go knock on the door, you realize that there's tenants there or there's squatters there. Now, I'm not going to speculate whether or not this person actually knows whether or not their lease is valid, right? Let's assume that they believe that it is, right? You are now working with someone who has been scammed. This is assuming that everything she's saying is true. Like, she is a victim, and you have to recognize that, right? Also, this is your investment, and you have to recognize that, and you have to recognize your profit, right? So how do you handle a situation like this? I would say 9 times out of 10, I'm going to give this person some money to leave, especially if I was able to buy the house at that significant of a discount. You know, what's another $10,000, right? And maybe that's way too much. What's another $5,000, right? To not have to go through the eviction process, to not have to destroy this person's life. You know, again, you have to. That's the decision you need to make for yourself as an investor, but looking at it from a purely objective perspective, right? Let's say that you were buying it and you were negotiating that deal, and that wholesaler or whoever wanted another $5,000. Would that have broken the deal for you? The answer is probably not, right? And if that's the case, then you can afford to pay it here in order to, preserve your own sanity and kind of move on. The alternative is you go through the eviction process, and depending on where you are, that takes a significant amount of time. I think most people, again, you have to look at the way that they are kind of framing this in their own mind, right? If she sees you as the enemy, if she sees you as somebody who's coming to take advantage of her after she's already been taken advantage of, that's not going to go well for you. One way or another, it's not going to, either it's going to be extremely stressful or extremely expensive, or both, right? So the best thing that you could do is align yourself with this individual and get her to a point where she understands this person is a resource, this person wants to help me. I was victimized and they're putting me in a position to succeed going forward. Now, one question that I do get a lot with situations like this is, do I want to turn around and rent this house to the tenant? I would say the answer 99% of the time is no, because the person who got her that lease that she currently has, a fraudulent lease, didn't care about vetting this person at all. Right? What they cared about was getting a first month's rent, last month's rent, security deposit, so they could put that in their pocket and bounce. That's all they cared about. That's what the scammer is. So as of right now, you have no reason to believe that this will actually be a good tenant. Yeah.
Wow.
Anything you want to add, Carlos?
I mean, it's pretty intense, and it's sad that she got scammed. Feels like she's about to get double scammed. And essentially, this is why you got to be a good person. This is why integrity matters, and
absolutely
your due diligence. Otherwise, you're just living in this, I guess, hellhole of life.
Yeah.
I guess. So,
I mean, this is also why professionalism matters, right? If you show up and that you can recognize, like, hey, you're actually a legitimate company with a website, with an online presence, with other properties that you can point to and be like, hey, we run these. It's going to give you a credibility and also a sense of authority that you wouldn't otherwise have, right?
I wouldn't believe that guy either if he came to the door.
Me neither. Honestly, like, I'll be honest, like, I'm like, I don't know you. Like, leave your papers and leave. Like,
get the hell out of here, right? Don't come back.
Yeah.
That's what I was.
No, I'd be like, I have a lease, and that's the thing. Like, she feels like that lease is legal protection, but the fact is, anybody could sign a lease with anybody else, and they could write anything on it, and that doesn't. If that other person isn't the owner of the property, you're not actually leasing anything. The whole thing is fraudulent. So,
yes, it's crazy. Crazy.
It is crazy. It's just
Crazy
paper.
times.
It's just
Crazy
paper at the end of the day. Yep.
Okay.
All right, let's move on to the next one. So this one's a little bit longer, and
you gotta share your screen.
Yep. And you'll actually be able to see the landlord's face. So this is a landlord coming in, taking possession of the property. At this point, the eviction process has already happened, and I just want you to take note of the landlord's attitude. It's this lady right here.
Okay.
$1,000 that has been taken already. They'll never see again.
Listen, sweetheart, I don't know anything about no 30,000, but 30,000 and 100,000. This house worth more. This house is worth more than 30,000.
Look,
Oh my God.
quit talking. I own this motherfucker free and clear, and y'all got to fucking roll. Y'all
That's the owner.
Since July. I don't give a fuck about nobody else other than me and my company. And this motherfucker done cussed me out so many goddamn times playing games. So guess what? I don't give a fuck.
My goodness.
Y'all stop talking to us and get
That's not
this
funny, I'm
shit
sorry.
up out of here.
You say, I don't care about nobody but my company. Like, I mean, obviously.
Everything. And take it to the goddamn curb, so if they don't pick it up, the trash, the motherfucker get it on next week.
I mean, the place doesn't look so bad.
No, it doesn't.
Wait, you ain't put your hands on shit you can be outside.
Yeah, that's the tenant up there. Okay.
Yep, that's one of the tenants. All right, so that's the video. What the thing that bothers me the most about this is this owner, right? She has a sense of righteous indignation, right? And the reason I say that is because she hasn't been paid. I mean, she said it herself, she hasn't been paid in months. The tenants owe her $30,000, yada yada. This guy said the house is worth a lot more, and like, I'm sure it is, but she's still entitled to that money because she still rented it, right? That was the expectation that was set. My problem with her is that first of all, she's here. Like, no, don't be there. Like, don't be there physically. There's no reason why you need to be there. But second, and most importantly is she's in there yelling at the tenants, trying to make them feel bad, trying to make them understand like, oh, like you should have paid rent, all this stuff. Like they know this already. They know, any rational human being knows that they have to pay their bills. Like that's what you sign up for when you sign a lease, right? So you're not accomplishing anything. The only thing that you are accomplishing is aggravating those tenants, right? And if you aggravate them, a lot of things could happen. They know the layout of the house. They know whether or not you've changed the locks. They have a sense of familiarity and comfort when they walk in there, right? So let's say she comes in, change the locks, everything's cool, whatever. That tenant gets mad, they come back, they break in the door, they destroy everything, right? Like why? Because you made them feel like crap, and you didn't have to. You didn't even have to be here. Like, so that's the kind of thing that I'm talking about. Like, you have to maintain your professionalism. Even after that tenant gets evicted, even after you get possession of the unit, you still have more to lose than the tenant ever will. So you have to be the professional in the situation. And I'm not saying that you have to be kind. I'm not even saying that you have to be sympathetic, but I'm saying that you like if I don't know, if I miss a credit card payment, right? Does Discover send somebody into my house to come and yell at me about how bad of a person I am? No, right? They don't. They file everything legally and they move on with their lives, right? You have to do the same thing here, because you will drive yourself crazy trying to be exactly what this person is. And maybe it feels good in the moment, but that's all this energy, all this time that you've spent accomplishing nothing, not moving your business forward at all.
God, man, because she came in there, she was like, I don't give a damn about nobody but myself. I'm like,
bro, she was probably excited. Dude, she's probably hyped. Like I've been in that position. I've felt that feeling. And finally, you get possession of something. Finally you get somebody that's been taking advantage of you and taking advantage of the legal system to stop, right? And it's like, yes, thank you, right? But that doesn't mean that you get to come in like this with that level of attitude, with that level of disdain for the people that are, again, probably going through a bad time themselves. So yeah,
I'm not. I definitely feel that way, but I wouldn't be there to watch them roll out that Dole banana container.
The banana crate. And that's the thing, like that's their whole life, right? Like you think about anything that's inside these people's house, like that's all of their worldly possessions, right? And they're going out on the curb, right? And then we're gonna see at the very end here, there's a video of a bunch of stuff getting stolen, which is what can happen, right? And so it's just like, why do you want to put yourself in the middle of that and kind of point your finger at you and say, I'm the bad guy, I'm causing this all? Like, it's not, bro. You don't want to do that. Don't do it.
So here we go. We're at the last clip here.
Yep, last clip. And this is just a really simple conversation between I think a server and a tenant. I really like this one because it's probably the most hopeful clip that I have.
Is this the curb one?
What's that?
Is this the one with the curb that's on the curb? The stuff is on the curb that you just
Yes.
Said? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you share?
Yep. We'll see that at the very end. Yep.
Okay.
Somebody scammed the person here.
Okay.
Into moving in, and we called get no email back, no nothing from nobody.
Gotcha. Do you know when you guys might have moved in?
Like 3 months ago.
3 months ago. Gotcha. Okay. All right. Yeah. So you were scammed. Okay. This property is owned by. Okay. So basically, the lawyer wants to try to work something out, want to like negotiate something to try to maybe avoid the eviction process.
Okay.
Unfortunately, this doesn't fall under the moratorium because this is not due to non-payment of rent. It's an illegal possession of the unit, so you're not protected under the moratorium. I mean, like, I'm sorry that that's the way it is, but it is. But the attorney wanted me to try to get your contact information. Maybe you guys can maybe negotiate something, maybe talk something out. Maybe you could set up like a move-out date.
Yeah, definitely. If you.
All right, so we'll leave that there.
And that's the stuff right there, huh? That's the stuff.
Yeah, this last clip only it's about a second, but I do want to talk about that last one. So this is an ideal situation. The tenant recognizes, like, hey, somebody was scammed. The landlord is willing to play ball. They're saying, hey, we'll figure out a move out date. We'll give you guys some time to get everything out. And everyone here is being calm and professional. I love it. I love it because at the end of the day, your job as a landlord, as a real estate investor, is not to ruin somebody's life. It's not to make their life difficult when you don't need to, right? Like this person purchased a house, probably sight unseen, that happened to have tenants in it who had an illegal lease, right? And honestly, that's probably part of what caused them to be able to buy that house at a discount, right? So you want to acknowledge all of these things and just talk to people like they're human beings. And if they're not talking to you like you're a human being, then you follow your legal process, you go through all that, and it's a pain, but people act against their own best interest every day, right? So what I always tell my tenants is, first of all, I don't want you to make your problems my problems, right? Like if there's something with the apartment, I'm not going to ask you like, oh, hey, give me a week to fix it. it. It's like, no, dude, like I'll come in and I'll fix it because I don't want to make my problem your problem. But likewise, if you are having issues in your personal life or with your bills or with your finances, like I still need the rent to be paid on time. So let's create that separation. But then second, I always tell them, like, if there's anything that I can do to help you be successful here, let me know. Like if you need more time, if you need me to waive a late fee, we can always have a conversation about that. And I'm not saying that I'll always be able to do it, but if it's within my power to make sure that you're happy here as a long-term tenant, I'm happy to do that. So just let me know. Let's talk about it. So just maintaining that level of communication is always super important. So yeah, I really like that clip because it's just like everyone's kind of getting what they need, maybe not exactly what they want right now, but they are ultimately being empowered to, move on to this next step.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool. So yeah, real quick, the last one's like 10 seconds long. So this is post an eviction, and in the other clip, the lady said, "Oh, throw everything out on the curb." This is not the same house, but this kind of gives you an idea as to where the tenant loses a lot of their leverage after the eviction happens, and why they could, rightfully be upset.
This is after an eviction ends. Everybody just comes and fucking takes everything.
So yeah, that was just a bunch of people saw an eviction happen. They went out, everything was on the curb. They just took it.
Oh wow, they're taking the guy's stuff. Wow, I mean,
yeah,
yeah. See, that's crazy. Something similar happened to me. My aunt did not secure the rent or something, and then left the baby pictures available for stealing and throwing. And guess what? They came and they dumped all the baby pictures out. And I don't have any baby pictures because of that, so it sucks.
Oh man.
Yeah. So those landlords, if you're not a good landlord, I'm coming after you. Okay.
Yep, there you go. This is a little bit of a crazy story, but once me and Stephanie Smith were walking through a house that was up for sale, and we ended up finding somebody's ashes in the basement. And and we were like, bro, like, what do we? I mean, it wasn't our house, right? So whatever. But it's like, bro, like, what? I think the guy's name was Herbert. And we're like, Herbert, no, what are you doing here? But yeah, I mean, it happens. It happens. People leave stuff behind all the time, and sometimes they care, sometimes they don't. But that's how it is.
Well, do you want to wrap this up?
Yes, sure. So that was Real Estate Nightmares. I think this is our final episode for the next little bit, but I just want to, relay it back to everybody. If you want to avoid situations like this, if you want to make sure that you're successful, the best thing that you can do is work with somebody that's more experienced, somebody that's been through this, somebody that's recognizes the warning signs way before it ever gets to any of these points. And frankly, that's me and Carlos. I've been a property manager, real estate investor for over a decade. Carlos has been doing some creative stuff with notes for 5 years now. So we can help you get away from this situation. And specifically, what we do at PTI is geared towards professionals who want to be able to invest in real estate without compromising the performance of their day job, right? This is what I said, like, you shouldn't be showing up to your own evictions. You shouldn't be, out there at your property swinging hammers. You should find trusted individuals, trusted professionals that you can work with. We can show you how, we can show you what to look out for, that can do all of this for you while still maintaining your ability to produce income long-term from your rental properties and, potentially secure your retirement if that is your goal. So yeah, if you want to connect with us, Carlos will include all of the information in this video. Check us out at, parttimeinvestors.com. That's our website.
Yep, PTI, parttimeinvestorsclub.com. So we will see you guys on the next one, and keep hope alive. Real estate nightmare. Okay, we got to keep our wealth at all costs. Okay,
absolutely.
All right, bye everybody.
Catch you guys later.